Are you like so many of us Americans living paycheck to paycheck, day to day, and wondering why you're constantly struggling to survive? Or are you just trying to save up some more money for retirement and have a better life for yourself? Maybe you're 45 and you're staring down the fact that you don't have any money in your savings. And you're wondering what you've done wrong all these years. You've made good money, you've worked hard, and now we're coming into a strange economic time. I just saw today on the news that it looks like the economy is going to be turning. 30% of CEOs say layoffs are in the mix, and we know AI is disrupting things. The economy is being disrupted, and we're going to have a real hard time finding money and work going forward. So for all of us, it behooves us to learn a little bit more about assets and liabilities. I'm going to say that one more time. Assets and liabilities. Okay, so what am I talking about with assets and liabilities? Well, let me give you a basic explanation first, and then I'm going to break it down for you a lot further. So the basic explanation of assets versus liabilities is, if you think about it from a really simple breakdown, you have positive and you have negative. And if you have positive, it's an asset. And if you have negative, it's a liability. Gold is almost always going to go up in value. It's an asset. Oranges that are fresh could be an asset, but oranges that sit around become a liability because they're going to go bad. They're going to expire, and there's nothing you can do with them. So if you have an orange stand and you're selling oranges regularly, then they can be an asset. But if you just buy a whole bunch of oranges and they start spoiling on your property, they are a liability. So let's talk about what things would be liabilities versus assets. Vacations are liabilities, unless you're using that vacation to somehow make money. If the vacation is going to make you more money than it's costing you, then it's an asset. If it's going to cost you more money than it's making you, then it's a liability. The same thing goes with automobiles. If you go and you buy a brand new car, that brand new car is a liability. It's a liability because it's costing you more money than it's making you right now. Now, if you own a business and you need a truck to run that business, and that truck is going to make you $200,000 a year, and it's going to cost you $30,000 a year to have that truck, then that truck is an asset because that truck is producing money for you. Now, if you want to kind of break it down a little bit different, when I was in business school, we took a class, probably just was accounting 101, something super simple. And in that class, they talked about assets and liabilities. And in that class, an asset would be considered a positive cash flow, and a liability would be considered a debit. So a debit and a credit. It's basically the exact same thing as an asset versus a liability. So when you think about it that way, it's money coming in is an asset or a credit. Money going out is a liability or a debit. It's pretty simple when you think about it like that. If you go out and you spend the entire day going to the mall and buying clothes and going out to eat and getting something really nice for your girlfriend, those are all liabilities. If you go out the same day and you spend your time collecting scrap metal and doing odd jobs, those are all assets. Now, you can purchase assets. Tools, for instance, are excellent assets, as are rental properties, rental equipment, and pretty much anything else that can make you money. Turnkey businesses are assets. Anything that's of value or maintaining value or going up in value is going to basically be an asset, and anything that's the opposite of that is going to be a liability. Now, I, for instance, have a dog over here with me. He's walking around. You might have seen him in the background. He's a great dog. I really love my dog. And if I had to buy a security system for my property in order to keep from having to have him, you might be able to call him a liability. And he really technically, an animal is technically a liability. It's something that costs you money, veterinary bills, food, living, rent, whatever it may be for the animal, you have to pay for all those things. So that really makes an animal a liability. Now, if I was training dogs and I was selling those dogs as show dogs or as dogs that are trained to go hunting, let's say, or protect your property or babysit children, then those dogs would suddenly become assets because now those assets are making me money. The basic premise here is if you want to get ahead financially, see, what I found with a lot of people that I know is that they go out and they spend all of their money on liabilities. They're not going out and spending all of their money on assets. So they're getting their paycheck and then they're saying, oh, I really want that PlayStation 3, or, oh, I really want to buy the newest set of Pokemon cards, which may be considered an asset in certain instances, but generally speaking is a liability because it's a gamble. And gambling is generally a liability unless you win, in which case it's an asset. And the same thing goes with all of the projects that we buy as blue collar guys and as people. We go out and we get junk cars and we get boats and we get all types of stuff that we just want to play with and want to have fun with. It's four-wheelers, it's dirt bikes, it's go-karts, it's boats, it's trucks, it's tractors, it's trailers, it's guns. Well, guns are actually technically an asset. They're generally, guns hold their value pretty well and tend to go up over time if you get the right weapons. But the point is, we spend all of this money on liabilities. And if we cut our liabilities out and we only purchase assets and we don't spend any money on liabilities, then our net worth starts to grow. It goes up and up and up. Because as you buy assets, they don't lose you money. Assets are meant to increase their value, or at least maintain their value and increase it with inflation. So buy more assets, buy less liabilities. More assets, less liabilities. More assets, less liabilities. I mean, I'm just trying to explain it on a really basic level so that you can think about assets versus liabilities in your life. And when you go to buy something from now on, you need to look at it and you go, is this an asset or is this a liability? If you go to Publix and you know that you drink a 20 ounce or a 16 ounce of soda every single day at work, and the soda costs you $1.75, and you can buy a 6-pack of them for $6, which means they only cost $1 each, then when you purchase that, you could really consider that to be an asset, because that is going to save you money going forward. Now, if you just keep purchasing them at work and paying $1.65 or $2 or whatever for each one of them, then that's a liability because you are spending more money than you need to spend. Now, living expenses are always going to be liabilities, but they don't have to be 100%. So your home could be an asset. If you purchase a home that's going up in value and you maintain it properly and you keep up with it, and we can talk about handyman skills and being able to do things and how this generation that's coming up now is having a real problem with that, but they're getting back into it and they want to learn. But right now we're just talking about assets versus liabilities. So your home can be an asset, or if you buy a home that gets trashed and destroyed and the neighborhood goes down in flames, then your home may become a liability because you may wind up owing more money on your home than it's worth. The same thing can happen if you buy a home at the wrong time. I mean, houses can fluctuate 30, 40% sometimes in a very short period of time. So if you are going to buy a giant asset like a home, make sure you're buying it at the right time. Because if you don't buy it at the right time, then to make sure it stays an asset, you're going to have to hold on to it until it goes back up in value. Because once they dip, you're underwater on your loan and you're in liability territory because you've just lost money on it if you sell it today. Now, that doesn't mean that everything has to be a liability just from this standpoint of the way that we're talking right now. You could still consider it an asset if you hold on to it for long enough. It's like the stock market. A lot of really good stock investors will say, you don't lose money when you sell, you lose money when you buy. So if you buy a stock at the right time, it has its value. That's what Warren Buffett tries to do. It already has its value. You know its value is on the books. So when you pay for it, you've already bought the value. Now you're just waiting for the increase in value to gain, to get your gains. Now, if you buy a stock and let's say the market crashes. So let's say you just bought a bunch of tech stock and then something happens to tech prices and they start going down and everybody takes their money out and they throw it into gold and you're late to the game and you don't take all your money out. And so now you're sitting at stock that was valued at $100 a share and now it's only valued at $1 a share. Unless that company is definitely going out of business and there's no way that company is going to be saved, your best bet would probably be to hold that stock. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a CPA. I'm not claiming to have any insider knowledge to any of this stuff. This is just general stuff that you learn over the course of living for a long time and paying attention. When you buy stocks, if your stocks tank, don't sell them when they tank. You're supposed to be buying when everybody else is selling. So if you sold stock at $1 that was 100, you should have been buying more stock at $1 in hopes that it went back up to 100, because you just got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to buy a stock for 1% of what you know its value is. Markets fluctuate things all the time. A war in Iran changes prices on everything. Conflict with China will change prices on everything. The market goes up and down based on so many things. The way that AI is interacting with stuff, the way that CEOs are talking, how much money is being invested here and there, who gets elected president, who's running Congress. All these things change the money flow. Ultimately, remember assets versus liabilities. It can change your life if you just remember when you go to spend money, think to yourself, am I spending money on an asset or a liability? Do you need that camera for a YouTube channel or you just want to buy that camera to have it? The difference is the one for the YouTube channel is an asset. The one that you're buying just to have is a liability, unless it holds value over time as a collectible. or something along those lines, or gains value over time as a collectible. Because the point is always to gain value with your assets. Maintaining value is great sometimes, because sometimes everything's going wrong, inflation is skyrocketing, the economy is tanking, and if you can just maintain a level of value, then you'd be really happy to just maintain that level of value. And that means it would go up with inflation. So we're not talking about a value that stays stagnant as inflation rises. We're talking about something that floats with inflation, maybe drops with inflation. Certain things that people think do stuff like this would be things like gold. Although that market is really still volatile, we use a lot of gold in electronics and in cell phones and technology. So I wouldn't say gold is actually floats with the market, but generally pound for pound, gold is going to maintain its value or go up in value over time. We're probably not going to suddenly find a huge mine with $10 trillion worth of gold sitting on Earth, so until we start mining asteroids, gold is going to maintain itself as a really good, solid, stable asset. That's assets versus liabilities for you guys. This was the official gobbledygook. That's really the basic video for today. I don't really know how to go much more in depth to it than that. I want you to go out there now and I want you to learn something, do something, and teach something. Ta-ta for now.